Coming up later on Park Date, I'll be doing my driving test in a specially modified clown car before driving over to David Attenborough's house for tea. Montbijou Park, Berlin. I love Berlin. Always very happy to come here, and this is a part of the city where there's a bit of history. Looks almost maybe like Paris or Vienna, kind of classy, not like all those parts of Kreuzberg which are very scuzzy and hipster, which we also love. This intro is for an episode with Hannah Van Der Westhuysen. Hannah has played the role of Stella in Fate, the Winx Saga. She's also been in The Bay of Silence, Fugitives, Grantchester, and she's going to be in the Lamborghini biopic. And at Edinburgh Festival, she was in Autopilot, the Ben Norris play. You might remember we had Ben on the podcast, and that was a great episode. You should check it out. Ben is lovely. So, do enjoy this episode featuring Hannah as the sun goes down over Berlin. And as I always say, please do leave a review, subscribe, and even like, if that's the kind of thing you want to do. Park Date is nothing without you, so I would love your feedback, and do please enjoy this episode, which was recorded at the Edinburgh Festival. Welcome to Hollyrood Park on a very, very sunny and hot day, and I'm here with Hannah Van Der Westhuysen.
Stunning pronunciation.
I said it right.
You did.
I said to Hannah, can I check the pronunciation of your name? Not too bad, right?
No,
for first
you were
go.
so close.
Oh.
And I was saying how there are literally blood family members of mine who can't say it right.
How
so
can
you've
you?
nailed it.
How can you be a member of a family and not pronounce your own?
That's
family
what
name?
I said, and yet,
Yeah,
and yet
it's
it was
true.
a thing. And yet it's a thing. Yeah.
It's a very, very cool name.
Thank you very much. It's not forgettable, which is nice.
Exactly. And we're here. Yeah, we're here in the Hollyrood Park in Edinburgh.
Yes.
Edinburgh Festival. How's your Edinburgh been so far, Hannah? We were talking about, you told me you'd seen a lot of things, been quite busy, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been very busy.
Yeah.
It's like being chucked in the deep end, especially after a pandemic where the most you were doing was like a read through on Zoom. Comparatively, it's really moving a million miles an hour, but it's so lovely to be utterly drenched in theatre and art and all the different, comedy, all the forms of creative expression to this degree that I haven't felt in years. So it's great.
It's nice to be back, isn't it? I feel like there's an added sort of piquancy to it, isn't there? Because we've missed everything for so long.
Also, the standard is so high because everyone's been working on everything for so long.
Yeah.
People have raised the bar in a big way. It's really exciting to be part of.
Yeah, people have come back here with, sort of all guns blazing, haven't they? Like, come and look at me.
They are not messing about. It's gorgeous, actually.
Exactly. Have you done Edinburgh's before? Have you performed before, Hannah?
I've never performed before, but I have come as a punter.
Seen lots of things.
I did mainly to see mates, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I was always infinitely jealous of everyone who was performing because I just thought it looked like such a laugh.
It does.
And now I'm here doing it, and I've texted like several friends and partners being like, turns out Edinburgh's really fun. Who knew? Who knew? I would have thought it.
It does look like a lot of fun. I've never performed here ever.
Really?
Either, no. And I've always, been for a few years, and I've always thought, actually, it does look It does look
like a
very
laugh.
tempting. Yeah, very tempting. But yeah, exhausting as well, isn't it? Like seeing everything.
Yeah.
And you always know loads of people here, so yeah, you're seeing your mates and your mates' shows
absolutely.
and things, aren't you?
Yeah, but it's also really delightful. Like I've got a very new mate who I'd never seen act before, and went and saw them in a play called Move Fast and Break Things, and it was utterly brilliant. And that level of pride of seeing a mate in something that is actually genuinely really, really good, and they are very talented, it's just a feeling like no other. So
it's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely to have lots of that at the Fringe.
Exactly, you want to see everyone succeed, don't you?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Everything I go and see, I want it to be great, and you know, you want everyone to succeed and for everything to be...
Absolutely. Well, you want to feel also like the industry is rich enough and big enough for all of us and all of our stories.
Absolutely.
It makes it a more interesting place, right?
Yeah, that's so true, and you need a variety of stories, a variety of voices and things. And
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
Lots of that now, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's a lot of interesting stuff at the Fringe as well. It feels a lot more diverse than when I came. The last time that I came was about 7 years ago. So
yeah. I think that's true, isn't it? Yeah, lots more diversity and different.
Thank God.
Different voices, right? Exactly. So there's something for everyone.
Absolutely.
Right, let's have we're in a sort of bit of, we're in the edge of the park. There's like a big
fork.
mountain. Yeah, we've got a fork in the road. Should we go right? This is almost like something from your play. Like,
I know. Where do we go?
Are we kind of? Are we like
As
agents? Are we choosing, or is it choosing us? I don't know.
Yes, honestly, that's
we
the
like
point.
flâneurs?
It feels like we've actually not committed to one side of the road or the other. We are just middling.
Well, that's typical me, Hannah.
To be honest, it's typical me as well. What a nightmare this will be.
Yeah, I never leave it till the last minute.
We're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, make a last minute choice, but not really commit to it.
Yeah, great. I love that. We will go absolutely nowhere on this walk. How exciting!
Yeah, it'll be in sort of big circles or something.
Yes, great.
But you said we looked at the mountain. And you said to me, "We're not going up that, are we?"
Please no, it's so hot today.
It's too hot for that.
And I wish I was fit enough, but I'm not.
I saw a few people going up there in the morning, but yeah, I think it's a nice thing to do. I feel like I've been. I think this is a.
This is a.
Yeah, we should have
committed.
We'll go around the edge of here.
Perfect.
But yeah, it's quite strange for me. I feel quite fresh. I haven't been boozing very much at this Edinburgh.
Oh, that's well done, you.
When I was younger, that was not the case.
Oh no, absolutely.
There was a lot of like very, very hungover mornings.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like if you don't see 50% of your shows still drunk or hungover, then you're not doing Edinburgh right.
That's so true.
It's really delightful because our show's at 1:35 p.m. and it's so obvious who's like what pint people are carrying in. If it's their first one, their second one, sometimes it's a third, and I'm like, that's strong for 1:35 p.m.
Yeah.
And I'm just thrilled to have them there because they laugh the most.
They'll laugh the most.
And I'm cheap. I'll take any laughing audience that we can get.
And there were a lot of laughs. So we're talking about Autopilot, which is the play that you've been starring in, which I just saw, and it was really, really good.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How have you felt about how it's been going, Hannah? Have you been feeling positive? And
yeah, I mean, I'm a wild perfectionist, which is not a trait I would wish upon my worst enemy.
I think that's a good thing to have.
Oh, I think there's a nice middle ground to be had, because you can never... Perfection is obviously not attainable. And I also have a very lovely, close relationship with Ben Norris, who wrote the play. And so the desire to serve his story as fully and as well as possible is like something that has undergirded a lot of... my desire in doing this play and in the work that we've been doing on it. But simultaneously, it's a really beautiful queer love story, which means a lot to me, and it's very important to I guess to honour that on stage. So I feel like actually it has been going really well. Cassie and I have worked incredibly hard on it, and the team that's on it is phenomenal. So I think it's been going well, and I think the desire to continue working and ever growing is still there, which is nice. Yeah,
definitely. And I guess I'd sort of known about the themes. I didn't really realise just how much of a love story it was, and that really actually really appealed to me. I love the kind of romance. Yeah, I love the romance, and I think the kind of chemistry between you guys is really powerful, and the stories. Yeah, really, really resonant, isn't it? It's kind of a modern like
a very,
love story,
very modern love story. Yeah. And I think also it's like I don't know, it's really nice to put big concepts like autonomy over your mistakes and playing God and manipulation of people's freedom in something like self-driving cars into a really distilled, very human sort of metaphor of a love story. It's just a really easy access way to kind of process a very large concept, which is clever. So well done, Ben Norris. Well done.
Ben's writing is really powerful. I think you can hear his voice. I love that when you know a writer even vaguely and you can hear their voice. You can see the humour and the pop culture references, which I love.
And Ben is a funny person.
He's funny, exactly. And we won't spoil anything, but there's a lovely moment with Hot Chip. I'm a very big Hot Chip fan. I thought that was great. I love that.
Well, we have often said, thank God that Ben has good taste in music, because otherwise it would really make or break the music references.
He's mostly got good taste in music, though. He did quote The Automatic to me. Do you remember them?
Oh,
they
gosh.
did that song, What's That Coming Over the Hill? Is
Oh
it a
my
monster?
gosh!
And he didn't think I was going to get that reference, but
oh my gosh!
But I did.
But there you were. Proud
exactly.
of you. I
Terrible.
Probably wouldn't have, unless you'd spelled it out like that.
They were very bad. But Hot Chip were great. But
Fantastic.
it's a great love story, I think. And we were talking about the idea of the autonomous vehicles. So
yes, self-driving cars.
Yeah, talk about that and kind of those ideas about autonomy and.
I think it is essentially from I can't speak for Ben, but I will try to. I think that was the idea that initially inspired the play, about how it's the idea of a bit similar to the trolley problem in terms of being like, do you bump into a pedestrian as a self-driving car and kill the pedestrian, or do you swerve to kill the pedestrian and to miss the pedestrian and kill the passengers? And it's that thing of being like, would you rather cause the least amount of damage but you have to actively do that and someone will still always be hurt, or do you sort of step away from having any power over it and destruction will occur anyway, but at least you can say you didn't really do anything? So it's like the level of participation in one's mistakes, which I think is massive in relationships, because practicing doing the hard thing is really tough, and not many people do it. Honesty, saying things that will hurt people's feelings in order to save their feelings further down the line, is a really gorgeous human way of looking at something that feels quite other and tech heavy when it comes to self-driving cars.
And it kind of works as a nice image, doesn't it? It's sort of mixing the philosophy of the kind of theoretical world with the everyday dilemmas that we face in relationships and life.
And
right?
also, like you say, life, the little tiny details that you do, like do you eat meat? Do you take a short shower? Do you stop taking short haul flights? But then ultimately, does that feel all powerless when comparatively you've got Amazon not paying their taxes and just polluting the world? It's really the back and forth of that as to what is the ethically correct thing to do, and also how do you have a nice, fun life simultaneously, is something that really, really fascinated me about the play, and why I was like, please cast me, sign me up.
And your character is very, very kind of conscious of those things.
Social justice warrior, baby.
Exactly.
Quite insufferably so, I might argue.
Maybe. Should we go up here a bit?
In the gravelly bit.
Let's go a little bit up here.
Great. Get some nice sound effects.
Get some gravel sound effects.
Yes.
So when the part came up, you were obviously very keen on doing this.
Well, I actually met up with Ben for a coffee because we hadn't seen each other in years. And when he was there, he was like, I actually have a part in a play that I think you'd be perfect for. And then when I read how borderline insufferable Nick can be, I was like, I am both flattered and offended. But I also think there's lots of elements that cross over between myself and Nick. And that desire, with lots of privilege, and also the desire to combat your natural privilege in the world by socially making up for that. I was like, that kind of tracks, and I actually really appreciated that Ben thought of me at all. God, it's just nice to work, isn't it, as an actor?
But you've been doing lots of stuff as well, haven't you, Hannah? Like,
Yeah.
You've done a lot of stage work and TV work. You've done some Ibsen, haven't you? I was reading.
Oh yeah, well that was
like lots of.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that was sort of a similar vibe in many ways, actually, because it was like extracted the concept of an original Ibsen, and it was kind of paralleling what happened with Grenfell, and about the participation in the way in which people were not even participating, but by doing nothing participating.
Yeah.
Which I think is very similar to this play, and it's very nice to do political theatre.
Yeah, exactly. So you're kind of asking the big. Let's go. Should we go back? Yeah, let's go this way. Tell me if you're too hot. Tell me. We'll have a little sit down.
Yeah,
it's quite hot.
Great. It's lovely and windy though as well. Hopefully
nice,
they won't be able to hear that. But
yeah. Yeah, but getting those kind of big. I think it's nice, isn't it? Yeah, to have those big questions and then also the kind of personal questions. Like the mix of them is nice, isn't it?
Well, I kind of believe that. I mean, there's definitely space for things that are pure entertainment, absolutely, and there needs to be, especially in the world that we live in. However, I think theatre is inherently political. You're always saying things whether you want to or not. I think just by living and breathing and walking on a stage as a gender non-conforming queer person, that in itself feels inherently political. Unfortunately, whether I like it or not, that it's just really nice to like actively participate in that and know that these really, really brilliant writers and other creatives that I've got to work with are aware of the power and asking big questions to hopefully provoke an audience into thinking a little bit deeper on things that have felt quite extracted in the past.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way of putting it, actually, because it is about kind of making people think, but you have to kind of sugar the pill a bit, don't you?
Yeah,
do you know
absolutely.
what I mean? I feel like
it needs to be fun and funny too.
Exactly. I feel like you can kind of trick people into consuming big ideas and asking big questions if you make it seem enjoyable.
Well, also people just want to feel seen, right? We're all probably low-key narcissists a little bit, and we just want to see our stories told and feel connected, and give us some feeling of purpose in this deranged, mad life that we all lead. That it's very important to let people feel seen and entertained, as well as trying to subtly make them question fundamental beliefs that they might hold that otherwise wouldn't be questioned.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go back down this way. I think it's quite windy.
It's a windy place.
On the microphone. maybe there's a bit too much of a breeze. Let's talk as well about I'm always interested with the kind of differences between doing, say, theatre and doing screen. Yeah. Like, what do you feel about that, Hannah? Do you have do you like to do a combination of both, and like what feels different about doing stage acting for you versus doing TV or film acting?
I mean, they're both very all-consuming as projects, but in very different ways. Generally, the screen that I've done means that you have to uproot your life and go to a different place and be in amongst a new cast, and that sort of dominates your life for a period of time. And you spend a lot of time waiting around. You do a lot of work on your own. It's very much a solo endeavour, but it's also beautiful because firstly there's a lot of financial backing in it, so you are truly able to immerse yourself in a world. It's such, and the amount of creativity that goes into it, all the different elements, all the from the DOP to the sparks to the art directors, there's so much in it. It's such a craft. So it's very fun and beautiful, but also by the end of like a 6 months filming stint, I'm like, get me out of here. I'm so bored of waiting in a trailer. I'm absolutely dying for someone to shout at me in front of a crowd of people and everyone to laugh, that instantaneous reaction of theatre. But then with theatre, I guess the rehearsals are so full on. You there is so little amount of money in it that you trade in your life in many ways for a period of time, because everyone's got to pull together to create something on a shoestring budget most of the time, because it's so hard to get theatre on its feet that you know, it kind of takes a whole new level of commitment
Yeah.
in a really exciting way. And
Yeah.
performing in front of an audience is unlike anything else.
Yeah, because I guess you get that kind of hit, you know, when you
Yeah.
get a laugh, or you
Yeah.
know, people are, you know, are you kind of conscious of like people's reactions, or do you switch off from that?
I feel like it's important to gauge in terms of, you know, trying to work alongside an audience, but trying to not be egotistical about it is also important. Like, you know, it doesn't matter if people aren't laughing, if they're moved, or if people are moved, or if people aren't moved but are, you know, everyone's going to take something different from it. And also, you know, no one's going to like everything.
Yeah.
So you've kind of just got to be like, am I serving the play? Am I making people question things? That's probably more important than like, did my gag land? Even though, boy, do I want my gags to land.
Right. Well, it sounds like you've got the comedian's head on you, because I feel like that as well. Like when you've done that joke, you want the laugh, and if it doesn't come, it's like, why?
Oh, it's violently
that
humbling for sure. Yeah. Oh wow, your ego takes a few bruises, but I think also that's the beauty of it as well. The fluidity of like nothing will ever be the same. You could do the same performance with the same delivery every night, and you'd have different laughs in different places, and that's it's just, you know, it's different every night, and that is an absolute blessing.
Yeah, getting that difference. But as you say about with screen work, obviously there's more budget, and then you can kind of immerse yourself. So have you kind of enjoyed doing doing the TV and film things you've done, like obviously Fate?
Yeah.
You know that a lot of people will know you for that. What was the experience like working on that show?
Oh, I mean,
the Winx Saga.
It's been great. I'm really lucky. My cast is stunning. The people who we've got to work with behind the scenes and Netflix have been really, really good.
Yeah.
Also, it's fantasy, you know, and that I think there is so much importance in fantasy because lots of fantasy shows allow for more stories to be told than people are willing to invest in when you try and make it in this world. It's really gorgeous escapism, especially when the world feels quite scary, which it does often.
Yes.
And also for me, it's really that thing of fundamentally why I wanted to be an actor in the first place, which is to have a laugh and play pretend on quite like a high level. It feels very childlike, you know, getting to fly around in the air and do all of that stuff as a fairy. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, what's it like to be a fairy?
It's great. I often say it's my drag persona because she's so high femme and like very, very camp in her like quite catty deliveries that I'm like, it feels like being a really lovely fairy drag queen.
Did you think I'm going to play this up? When you saw the script, were you like, right,
oh yeah,
I'm going to make this?
When I saw some of the lines, I was like, the only way to deliver this is camply.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
Why don't we sit on this log?
Would love to sit on this
It sounds
log.
a bit Alan Partridge, but I don't want us to get too hot.
It's a very
It's
warm
very
day.
hot, isn't it?
Yes.
It's very hot. So I imagine you must have quite a lot of fans of the show. We're talking about things like conventions. I bet people are very, very big fans of the stories and there was the cartoon, wasn't there, that came before on Nickelodeon? Is that right?
Yes, I believe it's now on Netflix as well. But I think a lot of people are a massive fan of the show because they felt very seen by it, and there was someone for everyone to relate to, and it's really tough when you remake something that was very important in people's childhoods. It's quite a lot of responsibility, and obviously I'm only turning up and playing one role in the show, but like the generosity with which lots of fans have met us and been like just glad to have this show have a whole new life in live action form is really beautiful. And I'm very grateful. We have a lovely fan base. Oh my gosh, they're like so kind and loving. And
do you have a lot of young fans, I imagine, as well?
Yeah, which is I think also speaks very highly of the younger generation that's coming through, of how accepting and how leading from trying to see the best they are, at least in our fan base, which I'm very grateful for. very, very grateful for.
Amazing. When you were young yourself, Hannah, did you watch shows like that? What were some of your favourites when you were little? Do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I loved anything that was fantasy based. Actually, like I think my absolute favourite was Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yes, a very good one.
It. Yeah, and I think also just anything that was like just felt extracted from this world.
Yeah.
Because I had a really lovely childhood, but also I think growing up as a queer person, you're always like, oh, is there going to be a world in which like this isn't the main primary focus, where it wouldn't be some massive deal to come out and be the true version of myself. And that sort of feels very similar to being like, hey look, I'm actually a witch and there's a whole wizarding world. Like,
yeah, right.
those sort of, you don't even know necessarily consciously at the time that those are the metaphors that are occurring, but it's, you know, whether it's queerness, whether it's neurodiversity, whatever it is, those discoveries, you're like, oh, there are worlds in which things that feel like secrets or things I should be ashamed of are accepted and celebrated.
Yeah, definitely. Did Sabrina had the cat, didn't she?
Yeah.
Salem. Is that right? Salem talked.
Yeah.
And Salem had some singers, if I remember rightly.
Absolutely. Oh my God, Salem was catty.
That was
the pun.
very good pun. I think that was the best part of that show. I seem to remember he was very, very funny and very cool.
The two aunts as well.
The two aunts, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids shows are actually brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure.
I remember I was like watching a lot of children's TV when I was young, and there was a lot of great kids TV.
What were the TV shows you loved?
Oof, yeah. So long ago now. I loved one of the things I really loved. There was a cartoon called Raccoons. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
It was Canadian, and it was
wow.
about these raccoons who lived in the forest.
Okay.
And actually, maybe like with Autopilot, there was a lot of kind of things about the environment and kind of politics and stuff. So the raccoons were trying to save their forest, and there was an evil capitalist guy.
They were radicalising all the children.
Exactly.
I'm obsessed. That's the kind of TV show I want to be in, please.
And Ralph Raccoon was like a kind of writer, reporter, and he was very heroic.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very good, and kind of grown up. And a lot of kids' TV shows are kind of actually weirdly grown up, aren't they? Like you're saying about Sabrina, kind of. There's more, like there's depths, isn't there? Like you kind of reading things into it, queerness or like.
Children are smarter than we give them credit for a lot of the time as well. Like, gosh, I nannied for ages because.
What was that like?
Oh gosh, I think most actors have done a bit of nannying at some point. Yeah, and I really enjoyed it because some of the questions that kids would ask are just the most like clear-cut way of viewing the world. Yeah. And so supplying them with like truthful answers that aren't, I mean, obviously massive scary concepts sometimes have to be distilled into other things, but I think when the purity of children before they've had all of societal stuff put on them is like a really exciting place to meet them with TV shows like you say, the one that you watch, where you're like, oh, it does boil down to the fact that I live on a planet where I really want trees to still exist in 10 years and I want raccoons to have a home. You know, that sort of simplicity is really beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
What's your kind of thoughts about directions you want to go in? Like, have you kind of thought about, a lot of actors think about maybe being directors or writing, or do you kind of think about those things, or are you happy to be acting?
I'm really back and forth with this because I very much enjoy my job as an actor. I just love acting. I find it so fun. And also there's a lot of, there are a lot of stories that I want to tell and facilitate, and stories that aren't necessarily mine to tell, but if I was in the position of power, I know that producing would be something I would want to do, to allow and I don't know, encourage stories to be told, stories that are not the consistent ones that we've seen thousands and thousands of times. I do enjoy writing. I think collaborating with friends and family is always my dream. Just because I've got so many talented, brilliant friends. This is the
thing, isn't it? And you want to involve all the people you love and you respect in your work. Yeah. Collaboration's great, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And also, like, having a work-life balance is tricky sometimes when you're in the arts, because you're so keen to be working full stop that you'll trade in social life and basic needs just to try and get, put food on the table and stuff. And so I think for me it's a mixture of both being like, I want to tell stories that I think are important, I want to work with people that I love, and also I want a career, I want everyone to have careers that allow them to also relax, lie in the sun, eat some grapes and have a nice life as well.
Yes.
I think that's really, really integral.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point actually. We all work so hard, don't we? And actually,
oh my God, yeah.
And especially, in creative industries, people probably might look from the outside and think, oh, it's just, it's just an hour on stage, or it's just writing some words.
But so much you don't see.
Exactly. There's so much you don't see.
The amount of free labour that you do just for the breadth of an opportunity is absurd.
Yes. Pitching and auditioning and all those kind of things.
Totally.
It takes a lot of time, doesn't it? But lots of work. And you're right. I feel like as I've got older, I've kind of, we're in this part now, and there's lots of people kind of chilling out, and
lovely families.
Families having their picnics and things. I really value. We have so many parks in London, and just going and chilling out, as you say, eating grapes in the sun.
Oh my gosh, what a treat!
Yeah, I love to go to the Lido as well. I think it's very nice to just have that downtime, and that's important as well, isn't it? We need to kind of have a work-life balance, don't we?
Absolutely, and it's integral. Like as I've gotten older, the more I've come to realise what is life if I can't say, oh, I had these gorgeous connections and experiences, stepped outside and breathed in the fresh air. When yes, it's so exciting and feels very good to be like, I'm working and I'm doing all of these jobs, and look at me on this like very admirable career path. But if you haven't, if you haven't got those connections, and that interests me more. And also I think it makes you a better actor, a better worker in whatever job you do, right? Like having more humanity, more connection, more fuel in you, because you've like refilled your cup through other things in order to be better at what you do. Quality over quantity, I guess. Yeah,
that's really, really interesting. I think you've got a point there. I think I
hope so.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's really important to have those experiences if you're going to be a creative person.
Oh my gosh,
everything is a story, isn't it? Like you meet people and you hear things, you experience things. And
imagine being like 80 and being like, I just worked my whole life. Whether that's at an office or on a film set, I don't think it really matters. If you might have wild stories that you can sort of, objectively tell, but I think the fundamental, most interesting ones, and the ones that always fascinate me, are the ones that are like rich in depth and the messiness and confusion of navigating life, which working constantly keeps you from getting to have.
Exactly. I sometimes, it's funny you say about being old as well. I sometimes think about what the world will be like. Hopefully we'll still all be here.
I hope so. Bloody hell, I hope so. I hope everyone it's hard to say, isn't it, on a day which feels as hot as today, but I do feel very lucky, like for example with the fans of Winx, like much more socially conscious generations are coming through, because they have to be. It's a large weight to put on their shoulders, but they are. And so I really hope things get done and change.
It's really interesting talking to young people, isn't it? They're very socially conscious, and they
just like the young person you're talking to now. Thank you so much.
That's a positive thing, isn't it? Being like socially aware and being kind of, I feel like young people are so like liberal and cool with all kinds of things. We talk about gender, sexuality. I feel like young people are really cool about that, aren't they? And
well, thank God.
Yes, because that's so important to have
also,
that.
We've got much bigger worries, right? Like it's utterly mad to me that people panic so aggressively about pronouns, and yet the world's on fire. Like we're really looking in the wrong direction. And I think that again, because they're younger, they're coming up with this distilled thing of being like, I haven't had society to aggressively impart all these opinions upon me, that I can just see shit for what it is, which is that I've got to put this fire out. It doesn't really, like, you do whatever you want, because like this is the priority, right? It doesn't matter what you identify as in the grand scheme, if our home is, I mean, obviously identity politics is very important, but like, as in to try and police what other people's identity politics is such a distraction from the state of our home, you know? But, it's an ongoing thing, and people love to distract themselves by dying on that hill. I appreciate that. The world's a scary place.
The world's a scary place. Yeah. Okay, let's walk back, shall we, Hannah? And we'll finish off with. I wanted to ask you if you had any park memories from when you were younger. Did you ever get up to any bad behaviour that you'd like to share? Look, where did you grow up? Were you in London? Or?
Yeah, I was in London. I was in like southwest London.
Southwest, right.
And to be honest with you, when you mentioned park memories, obviously my head instantly went to vodka behind the bins. Yeah,
right, of course.
But my favourite, because I just remember feeling cool when I got to hang out in the parks at night. And then my mum told me when I was in my I'm in my 20s now, I'm young, she told me that she actually used to drive up in her car and watch me.
And watch your own mother was stalking you.
She was. And I was like, I bet it wasn't that bloody interesting. She was like, no, you were actually very well behaved. You looked a bit scared the whole time. And I was like, yeah, I probably was. Thought I was cool, but inside I was screaming.
Yeah. Wow. How did you feel when you knew that your mum was like just there?
Well, my mum and I have come on like a really gorgeous journey, because she's, my main parental figure, and I think in turn of being kind of the only person who was like, because my dad was always travelling for work. Yeah. So her being the only parent there, I think she just felt this massive desire to protect me. And so coming like full circle with her and being like, you were always capable of doing that yourself, and that journey for us is now like, oh, that's hilarious that you used to stalk me in a park and I was actually incredibly well behaved. You were well behaved. So well behaved. I was always such a good boy. I was the same when I was young, very well behaved. Yeah. Oh, good. Were you not getting a little bit of vodka behind the bins? Not vodka. I remember like beers. WKD? Not WKD. Oh. That was too sweet for me. Yeah, WKD. It is a bit gross. Cider, maybe. Maybe there was some cider. Oh, a bit of Strongbow. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's funny the things we do, but I feel like parks are actually the place that you can really sort of feel free when you're a teenager, right? Oh, like, my gosh! Before you can go to the pub, like that's where actually else do you go? Exactly, and it's very true. Yeah, it's kind of a place where you sort of hang out with your friends and. Well, yeah, and also you don't feel policed by adults who don't trust you. Exactly. It's a weird age as well, like 15, 16, pushing towards 17, like... Would you like to go back to that age? Oh my God, you couldn't pay me enough money. No. I had a horrible time at that age, and I'm very glad that those weren't my glory years. Yeah. Is what I will say. And also, I think just life gets better. Yeah. And that's great. Exactly. Everyone should remember that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Exactly. Yeah. If you're not feeling in a good place, life always gets better. Of course it does. I think it's also just like surrounding yourself with people who are hoping that life always gets better. Like that sort of joy and wonder outlook on life is priceless. Priceless. We'll finish, Hannah, with if you just let us know what you're kind of doing next. I read about that Lamborghini movie, is that? Yes, yeah, that should be coming out at some point. I don't know when. That film will be coming out. Fate is coming out in September, season 2. Season 2. Which is very exciting. On Netflix. On Netflix, indeed. And then Autopilot for the rest of Edinburgh Fringe. And a couple of other bits, but you can just follow me on Instagram and see them, I guess. What's your Insta? I feel embarrassed to plug my own social media. That's horrible. I actually hate that from me. This is very off-brand, but I'm not that great at it, but it's Hannah VDW, and it'll be there. Check it out. And I think Autopilot should tour as well. Yes, I think so. It's a very good play. I think it's also got a life, in like Nottingham, and because that's where Ben's from. And I think it would be really nice if it could go there. A lot of Nottingham references. Theatre or Nottingham. Yeah, that would be a delight. Get in touch with Ben. Please. Be perfect. Great theatre as well. I really like that one. Yeah. Excellent. Hannah, thank you so much for talking to me. I hope you enjoyed our windy, hot walk around Edinburgh. I don't like my walks unless they're windy and hot. So they're the best ones, aren't they? Okay. They are. Thank you so much, Hannah. Cheers. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Park Date. There's lots more where that came from, and there'll be more in the future as well. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review.
good or bad, make them funny. I'll be reading out the best ones, and there'll be a prize for the one that makes me laugh the most. Name check some trees in your reviews and leave them wherever you get your podcast from. Check out our website, parkdate.co.uk, and if you see me walking around in a park, come and say hello. I think that was the sound of someone sneezing. Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Coming up on the next episode of Park Date, I'll be riding my unicycle up and down Primrose Hill in London as I talk to Idris Elba. So do tune in to the next Park Date, as long as I don't fall